I don't want to see her fired.
Coming to the chief's defense.
Seems like she's been making better choices for the Aurora Police Department.
Tonight, we're hearing from people who live in Aurora as the city appears poised to move on from Chief Wilson.
DUI enforcement under the microscope.
They reward arrest numbers.
The Loveland Police vows to re-examine its policies.
Moving around the cracks.
I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, gee, I thought the ADA took care of all that.
With the Americans with Disabilities Act now 30 years old, we're taking a look at why millions of Americans still struggle to get around. And we begin tonight in Aurora, where another teen has been injured in a shooting.
Police say the 17-year-old boy was shot in the leg at Red-Tailed Hawk Park. There have been no arrests.
And this latest shooting comes as Aurora faces a crossroads over public safety.
Yeah, last week, Denver 7 was the first to report that Police Chief Vanessa Wilson is on her way out. City officials still have not confirmed our report, but Wilson's attorney told Denver 7 last week that City Manager Jim Twombly has asked Wilson for an exit strategy.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon is live at Aurora City Hall tonight, where several people spoke tonight in support of the chief. Colette?
Yeah, when I was talking with people about why they came here tonight, even without me bringing up Chief Vanessa Wilson's name, they brought her up naturally, saying that she is kind of the chief of this community as it is, and they made sure council knows exactly what they think of Chief Vanessa Wilson. Now, that meeting is still happening right there behind me now, but those with the city don't have an updated statement for us tonight. Instead, they referenced what they told us last week, saying they will not engage in speculative conversations about personnel matters, but they're focused on changes on public safety for the best interest of their community and their employees. Now, it was a busy agenda tonight at City Council. Many of the people talking to council saying that Police Chief Vanessa Wilson has made reform when it comes to the department, where a lot of people think about the past. She inherited a department after Elijah McClain's death. Now, she did fire 3 officers last February for taking pictures mocking McClain's death. And this is only the latest in the series that we have been reporting on. We broke this news first, but happening right behind me right now is that camping ban, Ann. And that's another controversial subject here at Aurora City Council tonight.
That's right. So we're waiting to hear what kind of action they'll take on this proposed urban camping ban that has been proposed by the mayor.
That's right. They're discussing it right now. It's very controversial. Those with the city say that the ban requires to give 72 hours notice before a camp on public property is cleared. They also have to provide people in the encampment an alternative place to stay, and a new amendment that includes providing storage options for those whose belongings are moved. Now, Mayor Mike Kaufman says banning urban camping will make the city safer, but critics argue this is criminalizing homelessness. We'll have an update for you as soon as we get it. Live in Aurora, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Okay, we'll wait for those updates. Thanks, Colette.
Firefighters are battling another wildfire in Colorado, this one just to the east of Estes Park in Larimer County. Several homes along Solshine Road south of Highway 74 have been evacuated. The U.S. Forest Service says the fire is 23 acres large and 30% contained. Now closer to Denver, firefighters continue to make progress putting out the NCAR fire burning near Boulder. The fire department says it is now 68% contained and remains 190 acres large. This all started on Saturday, just a couple miles away from where the Marshall Fire ignited in late December.
The Loveland Police Department is launching a review of its DUI enforcement program. Deputy Chief Eric Stewart says the review will include policies and procedures, overall strategy, and status and outcomes of current and recent enforcement efforts. Now, this review comes as Loveland PD faces lawsuits over DUI enforcement. Harris Elias is one of those people suing. He was charged with DUI in January 2020, despite a breath test showing all zeros. The arresting officer then made Harris take a blood test, arguing his driving and mannerisms were not consistent with his breath score. And now the blood test also came back negative, and then charges against him were later dropped. Well, today we talked with Elias's attorney, Sarah Shelke, and she accused Loveland PD of using questionable tactics to boost DUI arrests.
It's a policing scam, really, is what we're uncovering in Loveland, which is that they prey on the stigma and the harms caused by actual drunk drivers to turn it into this boon of funding and pats on the back.
And Shelke claims to have proof of at least 20 occasions in which Loveland officers wrongfully arrested people for DUI. And she plans to introduce that evidence into the public record this week.
It's been 31 years since the Americans with Disabilities Act was signed into law, ensuring that businesses and local governments create a more accessible world for everyone.
So why are 50 million in this country still having so much trouble just crossing the street? While the ADA has changed a lot, it has also left Denver and the country with a long road ahead.
When he was 20, Stephen Folsch wrecked his motorcycle and lost the use of his arms and legs. He soon found out it was better to not fight, but adapt.
Sometimes I putt 15 miles a day on my wheelchair.
Those adaptations affected every aspect of his life, from the pointer he uses to type to his confidence rolling down the streets of his hometown. Then come adjustments like this. Folsch crossing the street outside of the crosswalk to avoid a crack.
I just go ahead and do things that aren't very safe. You know, as in riding in the road or, crossing the street where there are no crosswalks.
He has internalized it all. After all, like many others with disabilities in any number of cities and towns, he has no choice.
I can't tell you how many times I hear people say, gee, I thought the ADA took care of all that, and no.
The Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, was signed into law in 1990. It made discrimination against those with disabilities illegal. Progress has been made. Enforcement, not so much.
Yeah, infrastructure, we've got a long ways to go there for accessibility.
Just ask Denver's Julie Jennings.
Even in my apartment building, which is only 2 years old, most of the common spaces, the doors are just too heavy for me to pull open. I can't use those common spaces, even though I pay the same rent as everyone else.
More than half a dozen cities across the country have been taken to court over poorly maintained curb ramps and sidewalks.
A lot of people spent a lot of money just doing the bare minimum, and it still doesn't work. And it's like, did you ask somebody that uses a wheelchair? Did you ask somebody in the blind community or the deaf community?
People don't understand disability and don't really think about it.
David Newberger leads his city's office on the disabled. When it comes to progress, his city is somewhere in the middle.
Our tax revenue isn't enough to pay for all of the costs to fix these things.
Denver, like St. Louis, is an older city too, with tightening tax revenue. The last time sidewalk inspections were done here, city planners estimated it could take 40 to 50 years to repair every crumbling sidewalk, curb, and crosswalk in Denver.
If you have a pothole, you can call up 311, and within 3 days, they'll get the pothole repaired. It's hard to ask somebody who's living in poverty level, barely able to pay their mortgage, to make a $10,000 repair on their sidewalk.
Do I think we'll get the whole world fixed? Nope, probably not. But so you shut your eyes and you do the best you can.
In some sense, that's Folsch's view too. Again, he learned early on it's much easier to adapt than to fight.
I don't have a psychology degree, but it just seems like in the back of everybody's mind, disability is basically a symbol of human frailty. I'm confined to a wheelchair. No, dude, I'm liberated by this wheelchair.
Yet even liberation has its roadblocks.
And last September, we asked Denver's auditor if there was an obvious discrepancy based on low or high income neighborhoods. And he essentially said the program has accomplished so little, it's hard to say one way or the other. The city of Denver agreed to the auditor's recommendations.
Today was the last of the red hot forecast. Colder weather, some rain, and some snow coming up.
The slap that rocked Hollywood.
Oh, wow!
Will Smith apologizes to Chris Rock as the Academy weighs punishment.
Celebrating Cesar Chavez.
He gave hope and inspiration to people that were in short supply of it.
Examining a complex legacy as Denver marks the day named in his honor.